A 7-year-old girl wrapped her arms around a stranger's neck and whispered 5 words that would shatter a billionaire's carefully constructed walls. I miss Daddy, hugs. That moment outside a downtown ice cream cart changed everything. Not just for Adrian Cole, the man who had everything except what mattered most, but for a homeless mother fighting to give her daughter hope in a world that had taken everything from them. This is their story. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The piano recital had run late again. Adrian Cole checked his watch for the 3rd time in as many minutes, standing in the gilt-edged lobby of Charleston's most prestigious music academy, while 7-year-old Emma gathered her sheet music with the unhurried precision only a child could manage. Around them, other parents chatted easily, making plans for weekend playdates and summer camps, their conversations flowing with the comfortable rhythm of people whose biggest problem was choosing between tennis lessons and sailing instruction. Adrian didn't join them. He never did. "Ready, sweetheart?" he asked, placing a hand on Emma's shoulder. She looked up at him with eyes that were far too serious for a girl her age, eyes that reminded him painfully of her mother. "Can we get ice cream?" "It's almost 8 o'clock." "Please?" Emma clutched her music folder against her chest. "We never do anything fun anymore." The words landed harder than she'd intended. Adrian saw it in the way her expression shifted, caught between hope and the learned caution of a child who'd watched her father disappear into work for 2 years straight. Since Caroline died, everything had become transactional, scheduled, safe. "All right," he said quietly. "Ice cream." Emma's face lit up, and for a moment she looked like the carefree kid she was supposed to be. They walked through downtown Charleston as the summer evening settled into that perfect temperature between warm and cool. The historic district glowed under streetlights, all cobblestones and hanging baskets overflowing with flowers. Tourists snapped photos of Rainbow Row. Horse-drawn carriages clip-clopped past, their drivers reciting the same practiced histories they'd delivered 1,000 times before. Adrian barely noticed any of it. His phone buzzed constantly. Messages from his CFO about the Singapore deal, updates from his assistant about tomorrow's board meeting, urgent requests that all seemed to blur together into one continuous demand for his attention. "Daddy, you're not listening." He glanced down. "What?" "I said Mrs. Patterson thinks I should enter the competition in August, the one in Atlanta." Emma kicked at a loose cobblestone. "But you're probably too busy." "I'm not too busy. You're always too busy." Adrian opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. She wasn't wrong. The past 2 years had been a carefully choreographed dance of nannies, drivers, and scheduled activities designed to fill the space Caroline had left behind. He'd convinced himself that providing for Emma, ensuring her future, building something she could inherit, was the same as being present. It wasn't. "I'll make time," he said. "I promise." Emma didn't respond, which somehow felt worse than if she'd called him out on all the other promises he'd broken. They found an ice cream cart stationed on the corner of Market and Meeting, its cheerful bells cutting through the evening air. A small crowd had gathered, mostly families, kids tugging on their parents' hands, couples sharing waffle cones. The vendor, an older man with kind eyes and impressive forearms, worked steadily through the line. That's when Adrian saw them. A woman stood slightly apart from the crowd, her hand resting on the shoulder of a small girl who couldn't have been more than 5. The child stared at the ice cream cart with an expression Adrian recognized immediately because he'd spent the last 2 years trying to avoid seeing it in mirrors. Hunger mixed with resignation. Not hunger for food exactly. Hunger for normalcy. For the simple pleasures other people took for granted. The girl wore a faded pink dress that had been washed so many times the color had nearly disappeared. Her shoes, knockoff sneakers with the logo peeling away, were at least one size too small. But her hair was braided with obvious care, and her face was clean. Someone was trying. The woman beside her looked exhausted in a way that went beyond physical tiredness. She was young, early 30s maybe, with the kind of face that would have been pretty if it wasn't so drawn. Her waitress uniform was visible beneath an open cardigan, and she carried herself with the rigid posture of someone who'd learned to take up as little space as possible. "Can I get chocolate?" Emma asked, pulling Adrian's attention back. "Whatever you want." They joined the line. Adrian found himself watching the woman and her daughter out of the corner of his eye. The little girl hadn't moved, hadn't asked for anything. She just stood there, perfectly still, like she'd trained herself not to want things she couldn't have. Emma noticed them too. "Daddy, why is that girl just standing there?" "Shh, that's not polite." "But she looks sad." Before Adrian could respond, they'd reached the front of the line. Emma ordered her chocolate cone with sprinkles. Adrian got vanilla, not because he wanted it, but because it was easier than explaining he'd stopped tasting much of anything 2 years ago. As they stepped away from the cart, Emma tugged on his sleeve. "Can we buy them ice cream?" "Emma, please? She's just standing there." Adrian looked at the woman and child again. The woman had noticed them watching now, her expression shifting into something defensive, protective. He recognized that look too, the wall people built when they knew you could see their struggle. "That might not be," he started, but Emma was already walking over, her chocolate cone dripping onto her hand. Adrian followed, catching up just as his daughter stopped in front of the little girl. "Hi," Emma said. "I'm Emma. Do you want some of my ice cream?" The little girl looked up at her mother, uncertain. The woman's jaw tightened. "That's very sweet, but we're fine. Thank you." "You don't look fine," Emma said with the brutal honesty only children could deliver. "You look like you want ice cream, but you can't have any, and that's the worst feeling." Adrian winced. "Emma, that's enough." "It's okay." The woman's voice was quiet but firm. She crouched down to Emma's level. "You're very kind to notice, but we really are okay. Sometimes we just like to look at things even if we can't have them right now." "That's stupid," Emma announced. Then, before Adrian could apologize for her, she turned to him. "Daddy, can you buy them ice cream? You buy people things all the time. You bought Mr. Henderson a whole building last month." The woman stood up quickly, color rising in her cheeks. "We don't need—" "I know you don't," Adrian interrupted gently. He wasn't sure what made him say it. Maybe it was the way the little girl's eyes had lit up when Emma mentioned ice cream. Maybe it was the crushing awareness of his own daughter's loneliness. Maybe he was just tired of everything being a transaction. "But it's a hot night, and I'm already here, and it would make Emma happy. Would that be all right?" The woman looked like she wanted to refuse. Pride warred with exhaustion across her features. Finally, she glanced down at her daughter, whose small hand had tightened around hers. "Say thank you," the woman murmured. The little girl's voice was barely a whisper. "Thank you." Adrian ordered 2 more cones, strawberry for the girl, mint chip for the woman, who'd insisted she didn't want anything until her daughter had looked up at her with those impossibly hopeful eyes. They stood there on the corner in awkward silence, 4 people who had nothing in common except proximity and melting ice cream. Emma sat down on the curb, and the little girl sat beside her, the 2 of them eating their cones with the focused intensity children brought to important tasks. "I'm Adrian," he said finally. "That's Emma. She's 7, and she's never met a boundary she respected." The woman's lips twitched into something that might have been the ghost of a smile. "Megan, this is Lucy. She's 5, and she's much better behaved than me." "I doubt that." Adrian took a bite of his vanilla cone, which tasted like nothing. "I apologize if we made you uncomfortable." "You didn't. I mean, you did, but—" Megan stopped, seeming to gather herself. "It's been a long day. Lucy saw the cart on our way to the bus stop, and I told her we'd look. I should have just walked past, but sometimes I'm weak." "That's not weakness." "No?" She watched Lucy eating her strawberry cone like it was the most precious thing she'd ever held. "Feels like it." Adrian didn't know what to say to that. He was good at negotiations, at reading balance sheets, at knowing exactly which words would close a deal. But standing on a Charleston street corner watching 2 little girls share ice cream while their parents made painful small talk, he was completely out of his depth. "Where are you headed?" he asked. "Emma and I could give you a ride." "The bus is fine." "I'm sure it is, but—" "I said we're fine." Megan's voice had gone sharp. Then she seemed to catch herself, softening. "I'm sorry, that was rude. I appreciate the ice cream. Really, but we've taken up enough of your evening." Emma looked up from her cone. "Are you homeless?" "Emma!" Adrian's voice came out harsher than he'd intended, but Megan didn't look offended, just tired. "Yes," she said simply. "We are." The admission hung in the air between them. Lucy's head snapped up, her eyes suddenly bright with tears, and Megan immediately knelt beside her. "Hey, no baby, remember what we talked about?" We're not homeless. We're between homes. That's different. She smoothed Lucy's hair back from her face. We have the shelter, and that's a roof and a bed, and we're together. That's what matters. But Tyler said, Lucy's voice cracked. Tyler doesn't know anything. Megan's voice was fierce now. You hear me? We're going to be okay. We're working on it. Adrian felt something crack open in his chest. He'd spent 2 years insulating himself from feeling too much, from letting anything penetrate the careful walls he'd built. But watching this woman comfort her daughter on a street corner, promising her things would be okay when they both knew it was a lie, when she was clearly doing everything in her power to make it true. I might be able to help, he heard himself say. Megan stood, her expression shuddering. We don't need charity. That's not what I'm offering. Then what are you offering? Good question. Adrian didn't have a prepared answer. He was acting on instinct, which was something he never did. Instinct was dangerous. Instinct was how you made mistakes. My company is always looking for good people, he said slowly. If you're interested, I could arrange an interview. You don't even know me. No. But I know you care about your daughter. I know you're trying. And I know that sometimes people just need someone to open a door. He pulled out his wallet, extracting a business card. No pressure, no strings, just an interview. If you're interested. Megan stared at the card like it might bite her. What kind of company? Financial services, investments, acquisitions, consulting. We have positions in everything from administration to client services. I don't know what your background is, but I'm a waitress. She said it like a confession. I work at Jerry's Diner on Highway 17. I finished 2 years of community college before... She stopped. Before things changed. I'm not qualified for whatever kind of job you're talking about. Let me worry about that. Why? Why what? Why would you do this? Megan's eyes were blazing now. You don't know me. You don't know anything about me except that I can't afford to buy my daughter an ice cream cone. So why would you offer me a job at your company? What do you get out of it? It was a fair question. Adrian wasn't sure he knew the answer himself. My daughter told me I buy people things all the time, he said finally. Buildings, companies, solutions to problems. But she was right earlier. We don't do anything fun anymore. We don't do anything real. And standing here watching Lucy eat that ice cream like it's the best thing she's ever tasted, that felt real. He paused. I don't want anything from you. I'm just offering an opportunity. What you do with it is up to you. Megan looked down at Lucy, who had ice cream on her nose, and the first genuine smile Adrian had seen on her face all evening. When she looked back up, something in her expression had shifted. Okay, she said quietly. An interview. That's all. That's all, Adrian agreed. She took the card, tucking it into her pocket without looking at it. I should get Lucy to the shelter. It's almost lights out. The shelter has a curfew? 9 o'clock. If we're late, we lose our beds for the night. She took Lucy's hand. Say thank you to Mr. Adrian and Emma. Thank you, Lucy whispered. Emma jumped up, her cone finished. Can Lucy come to our house sometime? We have a pool and a piano and lots of rooms. Adrian saw Megan's expression close off again, the walls slamming back into place. But before she could respond, Lucy spoke up, her voice small but clear. We don't have a house. We have a room at the shelter with bunk beds, and Mommy lets me have the top one so I can see out the window. The simple statement broke something in the adult conversation. Emma processed this information with the straightforward logic of childhood. That sounds lonely, she said finally. It is, Lucy admitted. But Mommy's there, so it's okay. Megan's hand tightened around her daughter's. We need to go. Thank you again for the ice cream. They left before Adrian could say anything else, Megan walking quickly with Lucy almost running to keep up. He watched them disappear around the corner, heading toward the bus stop. Emma tugged on his hand. Daddy? Yeah, sweetheart? Are we going to help them? Adrian looked down at his daughter's upturned face, at the hope there that he'd somehow managed not to extinguish despite 2 years of absence and automation. I don't know. Maybe. We should. Lucy's nice, and her mom looks tired. She does, Adrian agreed. They walked back to where he'd parked the car, a sleek black Mercedes that cost more than most people made in a year. Adrian helped Emma into her booster seat, went through the familiar motions of buckling her in, checking the straps. Routine. Safe. But as he slid into the driver's seat and pulled out into Charleston traffic, he couldn't stop thinking about Megan's question. What do you get out of it? He didn't have a good answer. He didn't get anything out of it, which was precisely the point. For 2 years, everything in his life had been calculated, measured, optimized. Every decision ran through a filter of risk and reward. Every relationship, business or personal, was weighed against its utility. But buying ice cream for a homeless woman and her daughter? There was no angle there. No return on investment. Just a moment of connection with two strangers who would probably never cross his path again. Except he'd given Megan his card, which meant there might be a next time. Which meant he'd just complicated his carefully organized life in ways he couldn't predict or control. "Daddy?" Emma's voice came from the back seat. "Do you think Lucy has any toys?" "I don't know, sweetheart. Can we get her some for when she comes to play?" "She might not come to play. But what if she does?" Adrian met his daughter's eyes in the rearview mirror. "Then we'll make sure she has toys, okay?" Emma smiled, satisfied, and turned her attention to the window. Adrian drove them home through familiar streets, past familiar landmarks, toward the house that had felt empty for 2 years, no matter how many rooms it had or how much security surrounded it. The house was in the historic district, a 3-story antebellum mansion he'd bought because Caroline had fallen in love with it. She'd spent months planning renovations, choosing paint colors, imagining how they'd fill it with children and noise and life. Then she'd died. And Adrian had been left with a beautiful empty house and one daughter who rattled around inside it like a ghost. Their housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, met them at the door. "How was the recital?" "Long," Adrian said. "Emma was great." "I'm always great," Emma announced, racing past them toward the stairs. "I'm going to pick out toys for Lucy." Mrs. Chen raised an eyebrow. "Lucy?" "Long story," Adrian muttered. He went to his office, a converted library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a desk that had belonged to his grandfather. His laptop was already open, emails piling up. The Singapore deal needed his attention. The board meeting needed preparation. There were a dozen fires that needed putting out before tomorrow morning. But instead of sitting down, Adrian walked to the window and looked out at the garden Caroline had planted. Roses and hydrangeas, carefully maintained by a gardening service that came twice a week. Beautiful and sterile. He pulled out his phone and called his assistant. "Mr. Cole?" Jennifer sounded surprised. "It's late." "I know. I need you to do something for me first thing tomorrow morning." "Of course." "I met someone tonight, a woman named Megan Harper. She's currently working at Jerry's Diner on Highway 17. I told her we might have a position for her at the company." There was a pause. "What kind of position?" "I don't know yet. That's what I need you to figure out. Pull together some options. Entry level, room for advancement, nothing that requires specific qualifications, and arrange an interview for next week." "Sir, we have an HR department for—" "I know what we have. I'm asking you to handle this personally." Another pause. Jennifer had worked for him for 5 years. She knew when to push back and when to just execute. "Understood. Anything else?" "Run a basic background check. Nothing invasive, just the standard employment screening. And Jennifer, keep this quiet." "Of course." Adrian hung up and stood there in the dark office, wondering what the hell he was doing. He'd built his company from nothing through careful planning and ruthless execution. He didn't make impulsive decisions. He didn't hand out jobs to strangers he met on street corners. But he couldn't shake the image of Lucy staring at that ice cream cart with such careful restraint. Or Megan's defensive pride, the way she'd tried to protect her daughter from the weight of their situation while being honest about it. Or Emma's simple observation. "She looks like you want ice cream but you can't have any, and that's the worst feeling." His daughter was 7 years old and she understood loss better than most adults. She understood what it meant to want something you couldn't have, to stand outside looking in. She understood it because he'd taught her by retreating so far into work that he'd left her alone in a house full of everything except what she actually needed. Adrian sat down at his desk and opened his laptop. The emails could wait. The Singapore deal could wait. For the first time in 2 years, he had something more important to think about. He pulled up the company's organizational charts, started reviewing open positions, making notes. If Megan Harper showed up for that interview, and part of him suspected she wouldn't, he wanted to have real options for her. Not charity dressed up as opportunity, but actual work that could lead somewhere. It was past midnight when he finally closed the laptop and headed upstairs. Emma's room was at the end of the hall, her door slightly ajar. He pushed it open quietly and found her asleep, surrounded by stuffed animals she'd apparently selected for Lucy. A pile of toys sat carefully arranged on her desk: dolls, books, puzzles. Adrian stood in the doorway watching his daughter sleep. This little person who'd lost her mother and gained a workaholic father who kept trying to fill the void with things instead of time. She was so much like Caroline, brave and stubborn and kind in ways that made him ache. He thought about Lucy in a shelter room with bunk beds, looking out a window at a world that must have seemed impossibly far away. He thought about Megan, lying awake on the bottom bunk, probably running through 1,000 scenarios of how tomorrow's diner shift would go, how she'd make rent, what she'd do if they lost their spot at the shelter. The problems were too big for ice cream to fix, he knew that. But maybe ice cream wasn't supposed to fix anything. Maybe it was just supposed to remind you that small moments of sweetness still existed, even when everything else had turned bitter. Adrian pulled Emma's door closed and went to his own room, where he didn't sleep. He lay in the dark thinking about dead wives and homeless daughters, and the strange way life brought people together when you least expected it. His phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Background check clean. Interview scheduled for Wednesday at 10 a.m. 4 position options ready for your review. He typed back, "Thank you." Then he added, "Make sure she knows about our childcare program, and our benefits package includes housing assistance." "Of course," Jennifer replied. Adrian set the phone down and stared at the ceiling. He was already in too deep, already invested in people he barely knew. It was stupid and impulsive and exactly the kind of thing he'd spent 2 years avoiding, but Emma had smiled tonight, really smiled, and that was worth something. That was worth everything. Outside, Charleston slept under a canopy of stars. In a shelter across town, a little girl named Lucy Harper dreamed of ice cream and new friends. Her mother lay awake in the bunk below, turning a business card over and over in her hands, wondering if she was brave enough to hope again. And in a mansion across the city, a billionaire who'd forgotten how to feel anything sat in the dark and remembered what it was like to want something that money couldn't buy. The ice cream cart vendor packed up his equipment for the night, bells silent now, not knowing that a simple cone of strawberry ice cream had started something that would change 4 lives forever. Because sometimes the most important moments don't announce themselves with fanfare or warning. Sometimes they happen on street corners on warm summer evenings, when 2 lonely families collide and recognize their reflections in each other's grief. Sometimes all it takes is a little girl brave enough to share her ice cream, and a father desperate enough to remember how to care. Megan didn't call. 3 days passed with Adrian checking his phone more often than he wanted to admit. Emma asked about Lucy every morning over breakfast, her questions growing more pointed each time Adrian gave her the same non-answer. "Maybe soon, sweetheart. We'll see." By Thursday, he'd convinced himself the whole thing had been a mistake. Of course, Megan hadn't called. She was probably embarrassed or suspicious, or simply too proud to accept what she saw as charity from a stranger. He should have left it alone, should have just bought the ice cream and walked away. "Mr. Cole?" Jennifer appeared in his office doorway Friday morning, tablet in hand. "Megan Harper is here for her interview." Adrian looked up sharply. "What? The 10 o'clock interview? She's 15 minutes early." Jennifer's expression was carefully neutral. "Should I have her wait, or—" "No, send her in." "Sir, you have the department heads waiting in the conference room for the quarterly review. Tell them I'll be there in 20 minutes. Jennifer's eyebrow twitched, her version of open rebellion, but she nodded and disappeared. Adrian stood, straightened his tie, then sat back down. He wasn't sure why he was nervous. This was just an interview. He conducted dozens of them, except he never conducted them personally for entry-level positions. And he'd never met the candidate while buying her daughter ice cream. The door opened. Megan stepped inside, and Adrian barely recognized her. She wore a navy dress that had probably come from a thrift store but fit well enough. Her hair was pulled back in a neat bun. She'd even managed makeup, though he could see the exhaustion it tried to cover. But it was her posture that struck him. Shoulders back, chin up, like she was walking into battle. "Mr. Cole." Her voice was steady. "Thank you for seeing me." "Adrian, please." He gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Sit." She sat, placing a worn folder on her lap. "I brought my resume. It's not much, but I've already reviewed your file. Her expression flickered. You ran a background check on me. Standard procedure for all potential employees. Is it standard to offer interviews to people you meet on the street? Fair point. Adrian leaned back in his chair, studying her. She met his gaze without flinching, which he respected. Most people who walked into his office spent the first 5 minutes being intimidated by the view or the artwork or the sheer weight of money the space represented. Megan Harper looked like she was ready to fight. No, he admitted. It's not standard, but I meant what I said. We're always looking for good people. You don't know if I'm good people. Then let's find out. He opened the folder Jennifer had prepared. You worked at Jerry's Diner for 18 months. Before that, you were at a call center for 6 months. Before that, retail at Target. You've had 7 jobs in the last 4 years. Megan's jaw tightened. I can explain. I'm not criticizing. I'm observing. You finished 2 years at Trident Technical College with a 3.8 GPA before you dropped out. Business administration focus, no criminal record, no debt beyond medical bills from... He paused. From your husband's illness. Cancer. Her voice went flat. Stage 4 pancreatic. He was gone in 3 months. I'm sorry. Everyone's sorry. She shifted in her chair. Look, Mr. Cole, Adrian. Adrian, I appreciate this opportunity, I really do, but I need to know what you actually want from me. Because men don't usually offer women like me jobs in places like this without expecting something in return. The accusation hung in the air between them. Adrian felt something hot flash through his chest, anger maybe, or shame that she'd even had to think that way. I want an employee, he said quietly. That's all. Someone reliable, someone willing to learn, someone who needs a chance. If you think I'm offering anything else, you can leave right now. Megan searched his face for a long moment. Whatever she found there must have satisfied her because her shoulders relaxed fractionally. Okay, she said. Then what kind of job are we talking about? Adrian pulled out the position descriptions Jennifer had compiled. We have a few options. Client services coordinator, entry level, but it's a foot in the door. You'd be handling incoming calls, scheduling meetings, basic administrative work. Or there's a position in our facilities management department. Less client-facing, more organizational. Both come with benefits, including health insurance and access to our employee assistance program. Which includes childcare subsidy, housing assistance, continuing education reimbursement. He watched her process this. We take care of our people, Megan. It's not charity. It's good business. She picked up the job descriptions, reading through them carefully. Adrian waited, trying not to watch the way her hands trembled slightly as she turned the pages. The client services position, she said finally. What would that pay? He told her. Her eyes widened. That's more than double what I make now. It's market rate for Charleston. For someone with experience, maybe. I've never worked in an office. I don't know anything about financial services. She stopped, seeming to gather herself. Why would you hire me for this? Because you showed up, Adrian said simply. Because you're raising a daughter in a homeless shelter and you still braided her hair and made sure she looked happy. Because you didn't want to take the ice cream, but you did it anyway for Lucy. That tells me you know how to prioritize, how to put aside your pride when it matters, how to keep going when everything's falling apart. He paused. Those are the qualities I look for in employees. Everything else can be taught. Megan's eyes were bright. She blinked rapidly, looking away. I don't know what to say. Say you'll take the job. Just like that. Just like that. She laughed, a short, sharp sound that might have been half sob. This doesn't feel real. It's real. Adrian pulled out a standard employment contract. The position starts Monday, 8 to 5 with an hour for lunch. We'll set you up with direct deposit, get you enrolled in benefits. There's a 90-day probationary period, but assuming everything goes well, it becomes permanent after that. Megan took the contract with shaking hands. She read through it slowly, her lips moving slightly as she processed each section. Adrian gave her time, answering questions when she asked them, explaining the benefits package, the sick leave policy, the vacation accrual. This section about housing assistance, she said. How does that work? The company maintains relationships with several apartment complexes in the area. We can help with first month's rent and deposit, and the rent gets deducted from your paycheck over 12 months. After that, you're on your own, but it gives you time to get stable. And childcare? We subsidize up to 70% of childcare costs for employees making under a certain threshold. You'd qualify. Megan set the contract down. Mr. Cole, Adrian, I need you to understand something. I'm not stupid. I know this is unusual. I know you don't normally do this for people. And I'm grateful. I am. But I also need to know that this is real. That 6 months from now, you're not going to decide this was a mistake, and I'm going to be right back where I started. Except now Lucy will have gotten used to having her own room and regular meals, and her voice cracked. Adrian stood and walked to the window, giving her a moment to compose herself. Charleston stretched out below him, all history and money and carefully maintained facades. 2 years ago, my wife died, he said without turning around. Car accident. She was coming home from Emma's preschool. Someone ran a red light. He heard Megan's sharp intake of breath. I spent the next 2 years trying to outrun the grief by working, built the company bigger, made more money, convinced myself that providing for Emma was the same as being there for her. And then my 7-year-old daughter saw your daughter standing by an ice cream cart, and she recognized something in her that I'd been too busy to see in myself. He turned back to face her. So yes, this is unusual, and yes, I don't normally do this. But it's not charity, and it's not pity. It's me trying to do something right for once instead of just doing something profitable. He paused. You need a job. I need employees. This can be that simple if you let it be. Megan wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Okay, I'll take the job. She picked up the pen he'd laid out and signed the contract with quick, decisive strokes. When do I start? Monday, 8 a.m. Jennifer will get you set up with HR, show you around, introduce you to the team. What do I wear? Business casual, you'll be fine. She stood, clutching the contract like a lifeline. Thank you, I know I keep saying that, but don't. Adrian walked her to the door. Just show up on Monday and do the work. That's all the thanks I need. Megan nodded. She was almost through the door when she turned back. Lucy's been talking about Emma non-stop, about the ice cream, about how nice she was. She's never really had friends before. We move too much, and the shelter isn't... She stopped. Would Emma maybe want to have a play date sometime? I know you're busy, and we're not exactly... Yes, Adrian interrupted. Emma would love that. She's already picked out toys for Lucy. That earned him a real smile, the first one he'd seen from her. It transformed her face completely. Okay then, I'll see you Monday. After she left, Adrian stood in his office trying to figure out what he'd just done. He'd hired someone with no relevant experience for a position that usually required a college degree. He'd promised housing assistance and childcare subsidies and essentially guaranteed that he'd just complicated his life in ways he couldn't predict. His phone buzzed, a text from Emma. Did Lucy's mom come? Can Lucy come over? Please, please, please. Adrian typed back, yes. We'll figure out the details. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, I love you, Daddy. He stared at the message for a long moment before replying. I love you too, sweetheart. The quarterly review ran late. The department heads had concerns about the Singapore expansion, questions about the third quarter projections, opinions about the new office space in Atlanta. Adrian listened with half his attention, his mind stuck on Megan Harper's expression when she'd signed that contract. That night, he got home to find Emma waiting at the top of the stairs. Did you hire her? She demanded. Hello to you too. Daddy, did you? Yes, I hired her. She starts Monday. Emma let out a shriek that probably violated several noise ordinances and threw herself down the stairs into his arms. Adrian caught her, stumbling back slightly at the impact. Easy, sweetheart. Can Lucy come over this weekend? Can she? Please? I need to talk to Megan first. Figure out logistics. What's logistics? Details, schedules, how things work? He set Emma down. But yes, probably. Yes, probably, or yes, yes. Adrian pulled out his phone and sent a text to the number Jennifer had provided. Emma would like to know if Lucy wants to come over this weekend. Saturday afternoon? The response came back almost immediately. She'd love that. What time? 2 o'clock? I can pick you both up? We can take the bus. I'm sure you can. I'll pick you up anyway. Where? A pause. Then an address that made Adrian's chest tighten. The Palmetto Street shelter. He'd driven past it 100 times without really seeing it. I'll be there at 2, he typed. Emma was practically vibrating. What did she say? She said yes, Saturday at 2. Can we make cookies? Lucy probably never had homemade cookies. We can make cookies. Emma raced off toward the kitchen, already planning the menu. Adrian followed more slowly, wondering what he'd gotten himself into. A play date. Simple enough. Except nothing about this situation was simple. Mrs. Chen met him in the kitchen doorway. Miss Emma tells me we're having guests Saturday. A little girl, Lucy. She's 5. Just the girl? And her mother, Megan. I hired her. She starts Monday. Mrs. Chen's expression didn't change, but Adrian caught the slight lift of her eyebrow. She'd worked for his family for 15 years. She'd seen him go from ambitious young entrepreneur to grief-stricken widower to whatever he was now. I'll make sure the guest room is ready, she said diplomatically. They're not staying overnight. Of course not. But something in her tone suggested she thought otherwise. Saturday came too fast and not fast enough. Adrian spent Friday evening second-guessing everything. Was he overstepping? Was this weird? Should he have kept professional distance instead of inviting a brand new employee to his house? Emma had no such concerns. She spent Saturday morning baking cookies with Mrs. Chen, setting up her playroom, changing her outfit 3 times. You're nervous, Adrian observed. What if she doesn't like my toys? She'll like them. What if she thinks our house is too big? Adrian paused in the middle of straightening his collar. What? Her mom said they live in one room. Our house has lots of rooms. What if that makes her sad? Out of the mouths of children. Adrian knelt down to Emma's level. You know what I think? I think Lucy will just be happy to play with a friend. The house doesn't matter. You do. Emma considered this. Okay, but I'm still nervous. Me too, sweetheart. Really? Really? That seemed to help. They drove to the Palmetto Street shelter in Adrian's Mercedes, which felt increasingly absurd the closer they got to the address. The shelter was a converted warehouse in a part of Charleston tourists never saw. Chain-link fence, peeling paint, security bars on the windows. Adrian pulled up to the front entrance. A few people sat on the steps, smoking. They watched the car with expressions that ranged from curious to hostile. Stay here, he told Emma. But stay here. He got out, hyper-aware of his watch, his shoes, the car. Everything about him screamed money in a place where money was the thing most people didn't have. He felt exposed, ridiculous, like he was playing at understanding something he never could. The front door opened before he reached it. Megan stepped out, and behind her, Lucy. The little girl wore what was probably her best dress, pale yellow with white flowers, slightly too short. Her hair was in 2 neat braids. She carried a small backpack that looked like it had seen better days. Hi, Lucy whispered when she saw Adrian. Hi, yourself. He smiled at her, then looked at Megan. Ready? I think so. Megan's voice was tight. She was nervous too, he realized. Lucy, remember what we talked about? Lucy nodded solemnly. They walked to the car. Adrian opened the back door and Emma's face lit up. Lucy, hi. I made cookies. Lucy climbed in carefully, like she was afraid of breaking something. Emma immediately started chattering about the cookies, the playroom, the pool, everything they were going to do. Megan got in the front seat. Adrian noticed her hands gripping her purse tightly. You okay? He asked quietly as he pulled into traffic. This is really nice of you. It's just a play date. Nothing about this is just anything. She wasn't wrong. Adrian navigated through downtown Charleston, listening to Emma and Lucy's conversation in the back seat. Lucy's responses were quieter, more hesitant, but she was talking, laughing even. When they pulled up to the house, Megan went completely still. This is where you live? Yes. She stopped. Never mind. Lucy pressed her face against the window. It looks like a castle. Emma giggled. It's not a castle. It's just a house. Come on, I'll show you my room. The girls tumbled out of the car and raced toward the front door, where Mrs. Chen was already waiting. Adrian and Megan followed more slowly. I should have warned you, Adrian said. About what? That you live in a mansion? It's not a mansion. Adrian, it has columns. He couldn't help but laugh. Okay, it has columns. They went inside. The house did look absurdly large through Megan's eyes. The marble foyer, the sweeping staircase, the chandelier that Caroline had insisted on despite Adrian's protests that it was too much. Megan turned in a slow circle. You said you wanted to help people like me understand what it's like to have nothing, but I don't think you understand what it's like to have... She gestured at everything. This. I know it's a lot. It's not a lot, it's obscene. But she smiled when she said it, taking the edge off. Where did the girls go? Probably the playroom. Come on. He led her through the house, watching her take in the details. The artwork Caroline had collected, the grand piano no one played anymore, the sitting room that no one ever sat in. It was too much. He'd always known it was too much. They found the girls in the playroom, which took up most of the third floor. Emma was already showing Lucy her collection of dolls, her train set, her building blocks. Lucy stood in the middle of the room, looking overwhelmed. This is all yours? She asked Emma. Yeah, but you can play with anything you want. Lucy reached out to touch a doll, then pulled her hand back. I don't want to break anything. You won't break anything, Emma insisted. Here, this one's my favorite. Her name is Sophie. She placed the doll in Lucy's hands. Lucy held it like it was made of glass. Megan made a small sound in her throat. Adrian glanced at her and saw tears on her cheeks. You okay? He asked quietly. She hasn't played with a real toy in 8 months, Megan whispered. At the shelter, there's a bin of broken stuff the kids fight over, but nothing like this, nothing that's hers. They stood in the doorway watching the girls play. Emma, who had more toys than any child could possibly need, sharing everything without hesitation. Lucy, who had nothing, treating each toy like it was precious. Come on, Adrian said. Let's give them space. We can wait downstairs. They went to the kitchen, where Mrs. Chen had prepared coffee and set out the cookies Emma had made. Megan sat at the counter, still looking shell-shocked. Your house is beautiful, she said finally. It's too big. That's the most absurd thing anyone has ever said to me. Adrian laughed despite himself. Fair point. They drank coffee in awkward silence. Adrian wasn't sure what to talk about. Work seemed wrong. The shelter seemed intrusive. The weather seemed insultingly trivial. Thank you for this, Megan said. For the job, for today, for everything. I know I keep saying that. And I keep telling you to stop. I can't help it. You've changed our lives in less than a week. That doesn't happen in real life. It's happening now. Megan cupped her hands around her coffee mug. Can I ask you something? Sure. What really made you do this? And don't say it's because Emma wanted ice cream or because you needed employees. There's more to it than that. Adrian considered lying, deflecting, keeping the walls up the way he'd learned to do. But something about Megan's directness made him want to match it. Emma told me we don't do anything fun anymore, he said. And she was right. I've spent 2 years running from grief by working constantly, building a company, making money, telling myself I was providing for her when really I was just avoiding being present. And then I saw you and Lucy, and I saw... He stopped, trying to find the right words. I saw people fighting to stay together instead of running away. And I wanted to remember what that felt like. Megan was quiet for a long moment. That's honest. You asked for honest. I did. She took a sip of coffee. For what it's worth, I think you're doing better than you give yourself credit for. Emma adores you. I can see it. She deserves better. Maybe. But she has you, and you're trying. That counts for something. Upstairs, they heard shrieking laughter. Adrian and Megan both smiled. They sound happy, Megan said. Yeah. Lucy hasn't had a friend in so long. We kept moving, chasing cheaper rent, trying to stay ahead of the bills, and then Michael died, and her voice caught. Everything fell apart. I've been so focused on survival that I forgot she's still just a kid. She needs more than just a roof and food. She needs this. So does Emma. They sat there listening to the girls play, two broken people trying to figure out how to build something new from the pieces they had left. It wasn't comfortable, exactly, but it wasn't terrible either. Around 4 o'clock, the girls came downstairs, flushed and happy. Lucy was clutching a stuffed elephant. Emma says I can keep Mr. Snuggles, she announced. Is that okay, Mommy? Megan looked at Adrian, who nodded. That's very generous of Emma, Megan said carefully. You can come back and play anytime, Emma told Lucy. Right, Daddy? Right, Adrian agreed. They loaded back into the car for the drive to the shelter. Lucy fell asleep almost immediately, the elephant clutched to her chest. Emma chattered about everything they'd played, barely pausing for breath. When they pulled up to the shelter, reality crashed back in. The contrast between the mansion they'd left and the building they'd returned to was brutal. Megan unbuckled her seatbelt. Wait. Adrian pulled an envelope from his jacket. This is an advance on your first paycheck, enough to cover whatever you need until payday. And here's the information for the apartment complex I mentioned. I called them yesterday. They're holding a 2-bedroom for you. Megan stared at the envelope like it might explode. I can't. You can. You'll pay it back through payroll deduction. It's all in the paperwork. She opened the envelope. Adrian watched her count the money, saw her throat work as she swallowed hard. This is too much. It's exactly enough. First month's rent, deposit, and a little extra for furniture and groceries. You can move in tomorrow if you want. Tomorrow? Unless you'd rather wait. Lucy stirred in the back seat, blinking awake. Are we home? Megan's face crumpled. Yeah, baby, we're home. But guess what? We're getting a new home, a real apartment, tomorrow. Lucy's eyes went wide. Really? Really, really? The little girl's shriek of joy could probably be heard 3 blocks away. Emma joined in, the two of them celebrating like they'd won the lottery. And maybe they had, Adrian thought. Maybe they all had. Megan wiped her eyes. I don't know how to thank you. Show up Monday, Adrian said. Do the work, be a good employee. That's all I'm asking. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Then she got out and helped Lucy from the car, the little girl still clutching her elephant. Bye, Emma, Lucy called. Bye, Mr. Adrian. See you soon, Emma yelled back. They drove away, leaving Megan and Lucy standing on the sidewalk outside the shelter. In the rearview mirror, Adrian watched them go inside, watched the door close behind them. Daddy, Emma's voice was quiet. Yeah? That was good, right? What we did? Yeah, sweetheart, that was good. Can we do it again? Adrian thought about Megan's tears, Lucy's joy, the way the afternoon had felt both awkward and right. He thought about the contract sitting on his desk, the apartment waiting across town, the life he was helping build for people he barely knew. Yeah, he said. We can do it again. Emma smiled and settled back in her seat, satisfied. Adrian drove them home through Charleston's evening traffic, past the tourists and the restaurants, and the carefully preserved history. For the first time in 2 years, he felt like he was driving towards something instead of away from it. Monday morning arrived with the kind of nervous energy that made coffee feel redundant. Megan stood in front of the bathroom mirror in her new apartment, her apartment with 2 bedrooms and a kitchen that didn't require sharing with strangers, trying to get her hands to stop shaking long enough to apply eyeliner. Lucy appeared in the doorway, already dressed in the new outfit they'd bought yesterday. Target clearance rack, but new. Actually new. You look pretty, Mommy. I looked terrified. Pretty terrified, Lucy said seriously, and Megan couldn't help but laugh. They'd moved in Sunday afternoon with nothing but 2 garbage bags of clothes and the stuffed elephant Emma had given Lucy. The apartment came furnished, which was good because Megan owned exactly 0 pieces of furniture. Adrian had arranged it all, the lease, the utilities, even stocking the fridge with basics. It was too much. It was everything. Megan had cried herself to sleep on the donated couch, listening to Lucy sing to herself in the other room. Her own room, with a door that closed and a window that looked out at something other than a parking lot full of broken people. Now she stood in business casual clothes she'd bought with the advance Adrian had given her, about to walk into a job she wasn't qualified for, in a company she knew nothing about, working for a man who'd turned her life upside down in less than 2 weeks. We should go, she told Lucy. Don't want to be late on the first day. The daycare was 3 blocks from Adrian's office building. She toured it Saturday. Bright rooms, actual toys, teachers who smiled like they meant it. Lucy had been skeptical at first, clinging to Megan's leg, but then she'd seen the reading corner and something in her face had opened up. Now, walking Lucy inside, Megan felt her throat get tight. You'll be okay? She asked for the 3rd time. Lucy nodded, already eyeing the other kids. Will you come back? At 5:30, I promise. You always come back, Lucy said, but there was a question in it. Megan knelt down, not caring that she was wrinkling her new dress. Always, no matter what. You understand? I understand. Lucy hugged her hard. Good luck at work, Mommy. Good luck at daycare, baby. Leaving Lucy there was one of the hardest things Megan had ever done, and she'd done a lot of hard things. But she walked to Adrian's building with her head up, shoulders back, like she belonged there. The lobby was all marble and chrome and people in expensive suits moving with purpose. Megan checked in at security, got a temporary badge, tried not to feel like an imposter. Jennifer met her at the elevator. Ms. Harper, welcome. How was your weekend? Surreal, Megan said honestly. I imagine so. Jennifer's smile was professional, but not unkind. Let's get you set up. The next 3 hours were a blur of paperwork, orientation, meeting people whose names Megan immediately forgot. Her desk was in an open floor plan with a dozen other people, all of them younger, sharper, more put together than she felt. Her supervisor was a woman named Rachel Chen, no relation to the housekeeper, she'd clarified immediately, who had the efficient energy of someone who'd climbed the corporate ladder through sheer competence. You'll be handling intake calls primarily, Rachel explained, showing Megan the phone system. Clients call, you route them to the appropriate department. Simple. Here's the directory, here's the script, here's the software. Questions? About 1 million, Megan thought. No, ma'am. Don't call me ma'am. I'm 32, not 80. Rachel's fine. She softened slightly. Look, I know this is new. You'll mess up. Everyone messes up. Just ask questions and you'll be fine. The first call came 10 minutes later. Megan's hands shook as she answered. Thank you for calling Cole Financial Services. This is Megan. How may I direct your call? The words came out smooth, professional. Years of waitressing had taught her how to sound pleasant, even when she wanted to scream. The client wanted to speak to someone about portfolio management. Megan checked the directory, transferred the call, felt a tiny surge of victory. She could do this. The morning crawled by. Megan answered phones, transferred calls, made notes in the system. It wasn't complicated, but it required focus, and every time her mind wandered to Lucy or the apartment or the sheer impossibility of the last 2 weeks, she forced it back. At noon, Rachel appeared at her desk. Lunch, you get an hour. Employee cafeteria is on the 3rd floor, or there's a dozen places within walking distance. Megan had packed a sandwich, peanut butter and jelly, made in her own kitchen, but she followed Rachel to the cafeteria anyway, trying to learn the geography of this new world. The cafeteria was nicer than most restaurants Megan had eaten in. Salad bar, hot food line, made-to-order sandwiches. She got coffee and found a table by the window, trying to look like she ate lunch in places like this all the time. Mind if I sit? Megan looked up. A woman about her age, blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. Genuine smile. Sure. I'm Katie, client services, same as you. Saw you this morning looking lost. She set down her tray. First day? That obvious? You're wearing heels. Nobody wears heels after the first week. Katie kicked off her flats under the table. Also, Rachel only uses the full orientation script for new people. Usually she just points at stuff and says, figure it out. Megan found herself smiling. Good to know. They ate lunch making small talk. Katie had worked at Cole Financial for 3 years, had thoughts about every person in the department, and apparently had no filter. It was exactly what Megan needed. So how'd you end up here? Katie asked. Most people who join client services come through the temp agency. Megan hesitated. I met Mr. Cole. He mentioned they were hiring. You met Adrian Cole? Like, met him? Is that weird? Are you kidding? Half the company's never even seen him. He's always in his office or traveling or in meetings. The man's basically a ghost who signs paychecks. Katie leaned forward conspiratorially. What's he like? Megan thought about Adrian buying ice cream for Lucy, about the careful way he'd explained the job offer, about how he'd looked at Emma like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. Lonely, she said before she could stop herself. Katie blinked. Huh. Not the adjective I expected, but okay. She checked her phone. We should head back. Rachel's cool, but she's also a stickler for the hour lunch thing. The afternoon was steadier. Megan found her rhythm, started recognizing repeat callers, learned which departments were friendly and which ones got annoyed if you transferred someone without warning. She made mistakes, sent a client to accounting instead of investments, forgot to log a call, said thank you for calling when someone was already mid-sentence, but nothing catastrophic. At 4:30, her desk phone rang with an internal call. Ms. Harper, this is Jennifer, Mr. Cole's assistant. He'd like to see you in his office when you have a moment. Megan's stomach dropped. Did I do something wrong? Not at all, just checking in on your first day. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt like ascending to a different planet. Everything was quieter, more expensive. Even the air felt different. Jennifer met her outside Adrian's office. He's just finishing a call. You can wait here. Megan sat in one of the leather chairs, trying not to feel like she was waiting outside the principal's office. Through the door, she could hear Adrian's voice, clipped and professional, nothing like the careful gentleness he'd used with Lucy. The door opened. A man in an expensive suit walked out without looking at her. Adrian appeared in the doorway. Megan, come in. Come. His office looked the same as it had Friday. Floor-to-ceiling windows, artwork that probably cost more than cars. The desk that belonged in a museum. Adrian had his jacket off, tie loosened, and there was a tiredness around his eyes that the fluorescent lighting didn't hide. How was your first day? He asked, gesturing for her to sit. Good. Fine. I didn't break anything. That's usually the metric I use too. He almost smiled. Rachel says you're picking things up quickly. Rachel talked to you about me? I asked her to keep me updated. Not because I'm checking up on you, he added quickly. Just wanted to make sure the transition was smooth. Megan didn't know what to do with that information. The apartment's perfect. Lucy loves her room. She made me read her 3 books last night just because she could. Good. Adrian pulled out his phone, scrolled through something. Emma wants to know if Lucy can come over again this weekend. Apparently they're planning some kind of elaborate tea party situation. Lucy would love that. Saturday again? Same time? Yeah, that works. Megan twisted her hands together. Adrian, I don't know how to… Don't. He held up a hand. I told you. Just do the work. That's enough. It doesn't feel like enough. Then trust me when I say it is. He glanced at his watch. You should go. Don't want to be late picking up Lucy on the first day. Megan stood. Thank you for checking in. That's what good employers do. She was halfway to the door when she turned back. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why do you do this? Run a company this size, work the hours you work? You clearly don't need more money. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Because if I stop, I have to think about everything I lost, and I'm not very good at that yet. The honesty of it hit Megan in the chest. Yeah, I get that. I know you do. They looked at each other across the expensive office, 2 people running from grief in different directions. Then Megan nodded and left, taking the elevator back down to the world of ringing phones and transferred calls and lives that hadn't fallen apart. Lucy was waiting at the daycare door, backpack on, ready to go. She grabbed Megan's hand the second she saw her. You came back! Of course I came back. I made a friend. Her name is Jasmine, and she has light-up shoes, and she said I could play with her tomorrow. They walked home. Walked because they lived close enough now, with Lucy chattering about her day. Megan half listened, marveling at the simple miracle of her daughter being excited about something as normal as making a friend. The apartment still didn't feel real. Megan cooked dinner in the kitchen, just pasta and jarred sauce, but it was theirs, and they ate at the small table by the window. Lucy insisted on using the good plates, not the paper ones they'd lived off for months. After dinner, bath time, books, the whole routine Megan had been trying to maintain in impossible circumstances. But now Lucy had her own room with a door and walls that didn't echo with other people's problems. Mommy? Lucy said as Megan tucked her in. Yeah, baby? Is this real? The apartment and the daycare and Emma and everything? Megan smoothed Lucy's hair back from her face. It's real. What if it goes away? The question pierced something in Megan's chest. Then we'll figure it out, like we always do, but I don't think it's going away. Promise? Megan knew better than to promise things she couldn't control, but she looked at her daughter's face, at the hope there that had been slowly dying over the past year, and she couldn't help herself. I promise. Lucy smiled and closed her eyes, the stuffed elephant tucked under her arm. Megan stayed until her breathing evened out, then went to sit on the couch in the living room that was actually theirs. She pulled out her phone and stared at Adrian's contact information for a long time before typing. Thank you for today, for everything. I know you don't want to hear it, but I needed to say it anyway. His response came a few minutes later. You're welcome. Get some rest. Tomorrow will be easier. Megan wasn't sure she believed that, but she appreciated the sentiment. She sat in the quiet apartment, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of a building that wasn't full of desperate people, and let herself feel something she hadn't felt in over a year. Hope. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Megan went to work, answered phones, learned the systems. Lucy went to daycare, made friends, stopped looking over her shoulder like everything might disappear. They had dinner together every night. They went grocery shopping and bought things that weren't on sale. They existed in a way that felt almost normal. Emma and Lucy had their play date Saturday, then another one the following weekend. Then it became a standing thing. Adrian would pick them up Saturday afternoon, bring them to the house, let the girls run wild while he and Megan sat in awkward proximity, making careful small talk. It was strange. Megan spent all week at his company, in the building he owned, taking a salary he approved, but those Saturday afternoons felt different, more personal. Like they were becoming something other than employer and employee, though Megan couldn't have said what. 3 weeks in, Rachel pulled her aside after a particularly busy morning. You're doing good work, she said without preamble. Better than I expected, honestly. Thanks? Don't sound so surprised. I'm not usually generous with praise. Rachel leaned against Megan's desk. I'm moving Sarah to the investment team next month. That leaves an opening for senior client coordinator. You interested? Megan's brain stuttered. I've been here less than a month. I know how calendars work. I'm asking if you're interested. What does senior client coordinator do? More complex calls, some account management, helping train new people. 20% pay bump, better benefits. You'd still report to me, but you'd have more autonomy. 20%. Megan did the math in her head and felt dizzy. I don't know if I'm qualified. You are if I say you are. Think about it. Let me know by Friday. Rachel straightened. And Megan, this isn't because Adrian asked me to promote you. It's because you're good at the job. Clear? Clear. But after Rachel left, Megan sat at her desk wondering if that was entirely true. She wasn't stupid. She knew the optics were weird. Single mom gets hired by Billionaire, gets apartment assistants, gets promoted within a month. People were going to talk. Maybe they already were. Katie confirmed it at lunch. So I heard Rachel offered you Sarah's position, she said, stabbing at her salad. News travels fast. This is an office. News travels at light speed. Katie set down her fork. Look, I like you. You're good at the job, but people are going to say things. What kind of things? Come on, Megan. You know what kind of things. You show up out of nowhere, Adrian Cole personally hires you, you get an apartment through the company program, now you're getting promoted. People are going to assume you're sleeping with him. Megan felt heat rise to her face. I'm not. I know that. I can tell. You two are awkward as hell around each other, and people who are sleeping together are never that awkward. But appearances matter, and this looks like charity, Megan finished. Like I'm some project he took on. Are you? The question hung between them. Megan thought about ice cream carts and business cards, and Adrian's admission that he was trying to do something right for once. I don't know, she said honestly. Maybe, but I'm also good at the job and I'm working hard and I deserve the promotion. You do, Katie agreed. Just be careful. Office politics are weird, and you're already in a weird position. That night, Megan lay awake thinking about it. She should probably turn down the promotion, keep her head down, do the basic job, avoid any appearance of impropriety. That was the smart move. But the money would let her build savings, would let her buy Lucy things without calculating every dollar, would give them actual security instead of just borrowed stability. She texted Adrian at 11 p.m., then immediately regretted it. But her phone buzzed a minute later. Can't sleep either? He'd written. Rachel offered me a promotion. I heard. Congratulations. Did you tell her to do it? A longer pause. Then, no. But I won't pretend I'm not happy about it. You're good at the job, Megan. You've earned it. People are going to talk. People always talk. Let them. Megan stared at the phone, then typed, Easy for you to say. You're not the one they'll be talking about. You think people don't talk about me? I'm a widowed billionaire with a 7-year-old daughter and no social life. I'm office gossip central. Despite herself, Megan smiled. Fair point. Take the promotion. Do the work. Prove them wrong. That's the best revenge. Is that what you do? Every day. A pause. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's Friday, and I hear Rachel needs an answer. Good night, Adrian. Good night, Megan. Friday morning, Megan walked into Rachel's office before she could second guess herself. I'll take it, she said. The promotion. If the offer's still open. Rachel looked up from her computer. It is. You start Monday. Congratulations. That's it? No interview, no formal process? I interviewed you for 3 weeks. You passed. Rachel turned back to her screen. Close the door on your way out. Megan stood there for a moment, then left, closing the door behind her. In the hallway, she let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. She'd been in Charleston for 2 months. 2 months ago, she'd been living in a shelter, working double shifts at a diner, wondering how long she could keep Lucy fed and safe. Now she had an apartment, a job with actual benefits, and a promotion she'd somehow earned. It didn't feel real. But then again, nothing had felt real since Adrian Cole bought her daughter an ice cream cone. That Saturday, the girls were playing upstairs when Adrian found Megan in the kitchen. Heard you took the promotion, he said, pouring himself coffee. News really does travel. I'm the CEO. I hear everything. He leaned against the counter. How do you feel about it? Terrified, grateful, guilty. Why guilty? Megan wrapped her hands around her own mug. Because I didn't get here on my own merit. I got here because you decided to help me. You got the interview because of me, Adrian corrected. You got the job because you were qualified. You got the promotion because Rachel thinks you're good at it. Those are different things. Are they? Because from where I'm sitting, it all traces back to you buying Lucy an ice cream cone. Without that, I'd still be at the shelter. Lucy would still be... Her voice cracked. Adrian was quiet for a moment. You want to know something? Emma asked me yesterday if we could adopt Lucy. Megan's head snapped up. What? She said Lucy should be her sister because they're best friends, and best friends should be family. I tried to explain that's not how it works, but she just looked at me like I was being deliberately stupid. He smiled slightly. She's very persuasive. Adrian, I'm not asking you for anything, he said quickly. I'm just telling you that helping you and Lucy wasn't some calculated business decision. It was selfish, maybe. Emma needed a friend. I needed to remember how to be human. You both gave us that. Megan set down her mug before she dropped it. This is complicated. Everything worth doing usually is. They stood in the kitchen, in the house that was too big, listening to their daughter's laugh upstairs. Megan felt something shift between them. Not quite friendship, not quite something more, but something. Can I ask you a personal question? She said. Sure. Do you ever date? I mean, in the 2 years since... She stopped. Sorry, that's too personal. No, it's okay. Adrian looked out the window at the garden. I haven't. Caroline was... She was it for me, you know? We met in college, got married young, built everything together. The idea of trying to find that again with someone else just... He shrugged. I can't imagine it. Yeah, Megan said quietly. I get that. What about you? No time, no energy, no interest. Michael and I, we had our problems. We were young when we got married, probably too young. But he was Lucy's dad, and he loved her. And then he was gone, and I was just... She stopped, swallowing hard. Surviving. That's all I've been doing. Surviving. And now? Now I'm still surviving, just in a nicer apartment. Adrian laughed, a real laugh that Megan hadn't heard from him before. That's fair. Emma's voice rang out from upstairs. Daddy, Lucy wants to show you something. They went up together, found the girls in the playroom surrounded by what appeared to be every stuffed animal in the house arranged in elaborate rows. We're having a wedding, Emma announced. Mr. Snuggles is marrying Sophie. Lucy held up the elephant and the doll. You have to do the ceremony, Mr. Adrian. I'm not qualified to marry stuffed animals. Please? Both girls turned matching hopeful expressions on him. Adrian sighed. Fine. Do I need to say real wedding things, or can I make it up? Make it up, Emma said, but make it good. So Adrian performed a wedding ceremony for a stuffed elephant and a doll, while Megan tried not to laugh, and the girls watched with solemn attention. He pronounced them elephant and doll instead of husband and wife, which sent both girls into giggles. Now they need to go on a honeymoon, Lucy declared. Where do stuffed animals honeymoon? Megan asked. The couch, Emma said, like this was obvious. Come on, Lucy. They raced off, leaving Adrian and Megan standing among the scattered toys. Well, Adrian said, that's the strangest thing I've done this week. Only this week? It's been a weird month. Megan started helping him pick up the toys, putting them back in their designated bins. It was domestic in a way that made her chest feel tight. Thank you, she said quietly. For this. For letting Lucy come here, for treating her like she matters. She does matter. I know. But not everyone sees that. Not everyone looks at a homeless kid and sees someone worth their time. Adrian stopped, a stuffed giraffe in his hands. I don't see a homeless kid. I see Emma's friend. I see a little girl who's been through hell and still manages to be kind and happy and brave. That's who I see. Megan had to look away. You're going to make me cry? And I promised myself I wouldn't cry in this house anymore. Anymore? I cried the first time I came here, in the bathroom where nobody could see. This place is so much. And you've given us so much. And I don't know how to process that except by crying, apparently. You don't have to process it. You can just accept it. I'm not good at accepting things. I noticed. They finished cleaning up in companionable silence. Downstairs, they found the girls on the couch, Mr. Snuggles and Sophie positioned between them, apparently watching them watch TV. Time to go soon, Megan said. It's almost 5. Lucy's face fell. Already? We'll come back next week, Emma promised. Right, Daddy? Right. The drive back to Megan's apartment was quiet. Lucy fell asleep in the back seat, the elephant clutched to her chest like always. Adrian pulled up in front of her building and put the car in park. You okay? He asked. Yeah, just thinking. About? About how different everything is. 2 months ago, I couldn't have imagined this. Any of this. She glanced back at Lucy. She's happy, really happy. That's all I ever wanted. You're allowed to be happy too, you know. Megan met his eyes. I'm working on it. Something passed between them in that moment, something neither of them was ready to name. Then Lucy stirred, and the moment broke. Thanks for the ride, Megan said, unbuckling her seatbelt. See you Monday. Monday? She got Lucy out of the car and waved as Adrian drove away. Upstairs, she tucked Lucy into bed, then sat on her own bed staring at nothing. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. Emma wants me to tell you that Lucy should sleep over sometime. Megan typed back. Tell Emma that sounds fun. She also wants me to tell you that you're nice and pretty and she likes you. Megan stared at the message, her heart doing something complicated. Tell Emma I like her too. A pause. Then, that's from Emma, not from me. Just to be clear, I know. Megan hesitated, then added, But do you? Like me? The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, yeah, I do. Is that okay? Megan looked around her apartment, at the life Adrian had helped her build, at the sleeping daughter in the next room who smiled now instead of just surviving. Yeah, she typed back. That's okay. She turned off her phone and lay in the dark, thinking about ice cream and interviews and the strange way life could change in an instant. Thinking about a man who'd lost his wife and a woman who'd lost her husband and 2 little girls who just wanted to be friends. Thinking about how sometimes the best things were the ones you never saw coming. Outside, Charleston settled into Saturday night, and in 2 separate homes across the city, 4 people tried to sleep while wondering what came next. The text conversation stayed on Megan's mind all week. Not the part about Emma liking her, that was sweet and uncomplicated. It was Adrian's admission that kept circling back. Yeah, I do. Is that okay? 3 words that made everything suddenly feel different. Monday morning, Megan started her new position with a desk closer to Rachel's office and a computer screen that displayed more than just the phone directory. She spent the morning learning account management software while trying not to think about the fact that she was now making more money than she'd ever imagined possible. Katie stopped by around 10 with coffee. Look at you, senior coordinator, very fancy. It doesn't feel fancy. Give it time. Eventually you'll start judging people who still answer basic phones. Katie perched on the edge of Megan's desk. So, Saturday playdates are still happening? Why do you say it like that? Like what? Like you're implying something. Katie grinned. I'm not implying. I'm outright asking. What's going on with you and Adrian Cole? Nothing's going on. Our daughters are friends. Uh-huh. And that's why you get this weird look on your face every time someone mentions him. Megan felt heat creep up her neck. I don't get a look. You absolutely get a look. It's the same look I had when I started dating my husband. Like you're terrified and excited at the same time. I'm not dating Adrian, but you want to. Megan stopped. Did she? The question felt too big to answer in an office at 10 a.m. on a Monday. It's complicated. It's always complicated. Katie stood. Just don't overthink it. Life's too short, and he seems like a good guy. Better than most of the idiots out there. After Katie left, Megan sat staring at her computer screen without seeing it. The truth was she didn't know what she wanted. Adrian was kind and generous and good with the girls. He was also her boss and a billionaire, and probably still in love with his dead wife. The whole situation was a minefield. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. Emma's piano recital is Thursday at 6. She wants Lucy to come. You too, obviously. Interested? Megan typed back, We'd love to. Great. I'll pick you up at 5:30. We can meet you there. Megan. I'm picking you up. Don't argue. She smiled despite herself. Fine. The week crawled by. Megan learned her new responsibilities, handled more complex client issues, started training a new hire who looked as terrified as Megan had felt 3 weeks ago. It was satisfying in a way she hadn't expected, helping someone else find their footing the way Rachel had helped her. Thursday evening, Adrian arrived at exactly 5:30. Lucy had been ready since 4, her best dress on, hair in 2 French braids Megan had learned to do from a YouTube video. You look beautiful, Adrian said when Lucy answered the door. She beamed. Thank you, Mr. Adrian. Mommy did my hair. Your mom's very talented. Megan appeared behind Lucy, smoothing down her own dress. Navy blue, nothing fancy, but nice enough for a piano recital. Adrian's expression did something when he saw her that made her pulse quicken. You look nice, he said. Thanks. So do you. He was wearing a suit, because apparently that's what billionaires wore to their 7-year-old's recital. But he'd loosened his tie, and there was something softer about him than there was at the office. The drive to the music academy was filled with Lucy's chatter about her day at daycare and Emma's nervous energy about the recital. Adrian kept glancing at Megan like he wanted to say something but couldn't with the girls in the car. The academy was packed with parents and grandparents armed with cameras. Adrian led them to seats near the front, and Megan tried not to notice the looks they got. The billionaire CEO with a woman and child who clearly weren't his family, at least not in any traditional sense. Emma spotted them from backstage and waved frantically. Lucy waved back, practically bouncing in her seat. The recital started. Little kids playing chopsticks, slightly bigger kids attempting Mozart, teenagers performing pieces that actually sounded like music. Emma was somewhere in the middle, and when her name was called, Megan felt Adrian tense beside her. Emma walked to the piano with the careful posture her teacher had drilled into her. She sat, adjusted the bench, placed her hands on the keys. For a moment, she just sat there, and Megan could see the fear on her face. Then Emma looked out into the audience, found Adrian and Lucy and Megan, and something in her expression settled. She began to play. Megan didn't know much about classical music, but she knew Emma was good. Really good. The piece was complicated, something by Chopin, according to the program, and Emma played it with a confidence that seemed impossible for someone her age. Adrian's son is bomb. Adrian's hand found Megan's on the armrest between them. He didn't squeeze, didn't move, just rested his hand on top of hers like he needed to hold on to something. Megan didn't pull away. When Emma finished, the applause was genuine. Lucy cheered like she was at a football game. Emma took her bow with a huge grin and ran off stage. She was amazing, Megan whispered. She was. Adrian's voice was rough. Caroline started her on piano. It was their thing together. Every time Emma plays, He stopped. Sorry. Don't apologize. They sat through the rest of the recital with their hands touching, not quite holding, but not quite separate either. It felt significant and terrifying, and Megan didn't know what to do with any of it. Afterward, Emma crashed into them in the lobby, still high on adrenaline. Did you see? Did you see me play? You were perfect, Adrian said, pulling her into a hug. Lucy, did you like it? You were the best one, Lucy declared. Better than all the teenagers, Emma giggled. I wasn't better than the teenagers. You were to me. Adrian suggested ice cream, because apparently that was their solution to everything now. They went to a proper ice cream parlor this time, not a cart on a street corner, and the girls got sundaes with enough toppings to constitute a health hazard. I'm proud of you, Adrian told Emma as she demolished her ice cream. You worked really hard on that piece. Mom would have liked it, right? The question landed heavy. Adrian's expression shuddered for a moment before he answered. She would have loved it. She'd be so proud of you. Emma nodded, satisfied, and went back to her sundae. But Megan saw the way Adrian's jaw tightened, the way his hands gripped his coffee cup a little too hard. Later, after they'd dropped Lucy and Megan at home and were standing in her doorway saying goodbye, Adrian looked exhausted in a way that went beyond physical tiredness. You okay? Megan asked quietly. Lucy was already inside, brushing her teeth. Yeah, it's just hard sometimes, the piano thing. It was Caroline's domain, and I never quite know how to... He shook his head. Sorry, you don't need to hear this. I don't mind hearing it. It's not fair to you, dumping my grief about my dead wife on you. Michael's been gone a year and a half, and I still can't watch medical dramas without having a panic attack, Megan said. Grief doesn't have an expiration date. You're allowed to miss her. Adrian looked at her for a long moment. Sometimes I feel guilty. About what? About this. Whatever this is. You and Lucy and the Saturdays, and he gestured vaguely. I spent 2 years convinced I'd never feel anything again, and then you show up and suddenly I'm feeling things, and I don't know if I'm allowed to. Megan's heart was hammering. What kind of things? Things that complicate everything. Things that probably aren't appropriate given that you work for me and I'm the reason you have an apartment and... Adrian, Megan stepped closer. What kind of things? He met her eyes. I like you. More than I should. More than makes sense given we barely know each other. And I know the power dynamic is all wrong, and I'm probably your boss, and I definitely helped you when you needed it, which makes this weird, but I can't stop... Megan kissed him. It wasn't planned. She just reached up and pressed her lips to his, cutting off the spiral of words. Adrian froze for half a second, then kissed her back with a desperation that made her knees weak. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. Sorry, Megan said. You were spiraling and I... Don't apologize. Adrian's hand cupped her face. Please don't apologize. This is crazy. Completely. You're my boss. I know. And Lucy's getting attached to Emma, and if this goes badly... I know. Adrian's thumb traced her cheekbone. We should probably be smart about this. We should. Neither of them moved. From inside the apartment, Lucy called out, Mommy, I'm ready for bed! Reality crashed back in. Megan stepped back, putting distance between them. I should... Yeah, go. Adrian, we'll talk soon, okay? Okay. Megan went inside on shaky legs, her lips still tingling. Lucy was already in bed with Mr. Snuggles, waiting for a story. Megan read 3 chapters of Charlotte's Web on autopilot, her mind replaying the kiss over and over. After Lucy fell asleep, Megan sat on her couch staring at her phone. She should text Adrian, say something about what just happened. But what? Sorry for kissing you? Not sorry for kissing you? Let's pretend it never happened? Let's definitely do it again? Her phone buzzed. Adrian. I'm not sorry. Megan smiled. Me neither. But we should probably figure out what this means. Probably. Dinner? Just us? No kids? Megan's stomach flipped. Like a date? Yeah. Like a date. If you want. I want. She hesitated, then added, but I'm scared. Me too. But I think I'd rather be scared with you than safe alone. Megan read the message 3 times, something warm spreading through her chest. When? Saturday. I'll get a sitter for Emma. You get one for Lucy? Okay. Okay. Megan set down her phone and let herself feel it. The terror, and the excitement, and the possibility. She'd spent a year and a half just surviving, keeping her head down, protecting Lucy from everything including hope. But Adrian made her want to hope again. Made her want to believe that good things could still happen. Friday at work, Megan was distracted enough that Rachel noticed. You okay? You've checked your phone like 15 times in the last hour. Sorry, just personal stuff. Rachel leaned against Megan's desk, arms crossed. Does this personal stuff have anything to do with a certain CEO? Megan's head snapped up. What? Please, I have eyes. I've seen the way he looks at you when he thinks no one's watching, and you get this expression whenever his name comes up. She paused. I'm not judging. I'm just saying be careful. Careful how? Adrian Cole is a good guy, better than most, but he's also one of the most powerful men in Charleston, and you're a broke single mom he took pity on? Megan couldn't keep the edge out of her voice. I was going to say new to this world. Look, I don't think he took pity on you. I think he saw someone worth helping, and he helped. But the optics matter, especially for you. You've worked hard to get where you are. Don't let anyone diminish that by saying you slept your way here. Megan felt her face flush. We haven't... I know, but you're going to. Or you want to. And when you do, people will talk. I'm just saying, go in with your eyes open. After Rachel left, Megan sat at her desk feeling sick. She hadn't thought about the optics beyond the immediate office gossip, but Rachel was right. Adrian was powerful, and Megan was, what, a charity case who got lucky? Her phone buzzed. Adrian, still on for tomorrow? Megan stared at the message. She could back out, keep things professional, protect herself and Lucy from the inevitable complications. Or she could be brave. Still on, she typed. Saturday night, Megan stood in front of her closet having a minor crisis. She didn't have date clothes. She had work clothes and casual clothes, and one dress she'd worn to Michael's funeral that she couldn't bring herself to throw away. Katie had taken her shopping Friday after work, insisting that Megan needed something that said confident woman, not desperate single mom. They'd found a burgundy dress that was simple but elegant, and Katie had bullied Megan into buying it despite the price tag. Now, wearing it, Megan barely recognized herself. She'd done her makeup, styled her hair, even painted her nails. Lucy sat on the bed watching with wide eyes. You look like a princess, Mommy. I look ridiculous. No, you look happy. Megan met her daughter's eyes in the mirror. Yeah? Yeah, you smile more now. Since we moved here and you got your job and we met Emma and Mr. Adrian. Lucy swung her legs. I like when you smile. I like it too, baby. The doorbell rang at 7 exactly. Megan answered it to find Adrian in dark jeans and a button-down with no tie, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. Wow, he said. Too much? Not even close. Lucy appeared behind Megan. Hi, Mr. Adrian. Mommy looks like a princess, right? She absolutely does. Adrian crouched down to Lucy's level. You be good for the sitter, okay? I'm always good. That's debatable, Megan muttered. The sitter arrived, a college student named Beth who came highly recommended and had already been briefed extensively on Lucy's bedtime routine. Megan went through the instructions twice more before Adrian gently steered her toward the door. She'll be fine. Beth takes care of Emma all the time. I know, I'm just nervous. I know, me too. They went to a restaurant that wasn't the kind of place Megan had ever been. Candlelight and wine lists and waiters who called her ma'am. Adrian had reserved a private corner table, which Megan appreciated. The last thing she needed was to be on display. This is too fancy, she said, looking at the menu where nothing had prices listed. It's not too fancy. Adrian, there's a fork I don't know how to use. He smiled. Start from the outside and work your way in. That's the only rule that matters. They ordered wine, Adrian choosing something that made the sommelier practically bow, and fell into awkward silence. This is weird, Megan said finally. So weird. We've spent hours together with the girls and it's been fine, but now we're on an actual date and it's terrifying, Adrian finished. Yeah, the wine came. Adrian raised his glass. To being terrified together? Megan clinked her glass against his. To being terrified together. The alcohol helped. So did the food, which was incredible. They talked about safe things at first. Emma's recital, Lucy's new friend at daycare, the weather. Then Adrian asked about her life before Charleston, and Megan found herself telling him about meeting Michael in community college, about getting pregnant at 22 and dropping out to work, About Michael's diagnosis and the medical bills and watching him die over 3 months while trying to keep Lucy from understanding what was happening. We had nothing, she said quietly. After he died, I had nothing. No savings, no family, no plan. Just Lucy and a mountain of debt and this desperate need to keep moving because if I stopped, I'd fall apart. You didn't fall apart, Adrian said. I did. Multiple times. I just did it where Lucy couldn't see. She took a sip of wine. The shelter was rock bottom. Sleeping in bunk beds, sharing a bathroom with 40 people, listening to Lucy cry because she didn't understand why we couldn't go home. And then you bought her an ice cream cone, and somehow that turned into, she gestured around them, this. You make it sound like I saved you. Didn't you? No. Adrian leaned forward. You saved yourself. You showed up for the interview. You did the work. You earned the promotion. I just opened a door. You're the one who walked through it. Megan's eyes burned. Why are you so nice to me? Because you're easy to be nice to, and because, he paused, because you make me want to be better than I've been. Emma sees it too. She said the other day that I smile more now. Lucy said the same thing to me. Then maybe we're good for each other. They finished dinner and walked through downtown Charleston, the warm night air carrying the scent of magnolias. Adrian took her hand and Megan let him, ignoring the voice in her head that said this was moving too fast. Can I tell you something? Adrian said as they walked. Sure. I haven't done this since Caroline. Dated, I mean, or wanted to date. For 2 years I couldn't imagine being with anyone else. What changed? You showed up. He stopped walking, turned to face her. You and Lucy, you reminded me that life keeps going whether I want it to or not, and that maybe it's okay to want things again. Megan's throat was tight. I'm scared of messing this up. Me too. And I'm scared that you're going to realize I'm just some broke waitress who got lucky, and Adrian kissed her, cutting off the words. It was slower than the kiss in her doorway, deeper, full of promise and possibility. When they broke apart, Megan was breathless. You're not just anything, Adrian said. You're smart and strong and a good mother, and you make me laugh. That's who you are, not your bank account or your job or where you came from. You really believe that? I really believe that. They walked back to his car hand in hand. Adrian drove her home, walked her to her door like they were teenagers. The sitter reported that Lucy had been perfect, went to bed on time. No problems. After Beth left, Adrian lingered in the doorway. I had a good time tonight, Megan said. Me too. So, do we do this again? I'd like to, if you want. I want. Megan hesitated. But I need to know what we're doing here, because if you're just trying to... I'm falling for you, Adrian interrupted. I don't know how else to say it. I know it's fast and complicated and probably a terrible idea, but I'm falling for you anyway. Megan's heart was racing. I'm falling for you too, and it's the most terrifying thing I've felt in years. Good terrifying or bad terrifying? I don't know yet. Adrian smiled. Fair enough. He kissed her forehead. I should go. But Megan, this isn't casual for me. I need you to know that. It's not casual for me either. After he left, Megan checked on Lucy. Fast asleep, Mr. Snuggles tucked under her arm, then sat on her couch trying to process what had just happened. She'd just had a real date with Adrian Cole. She'd told him she was falling for him. He'd said it back. Her phone buzzed. Thank you for tonight. For giving me a chance. Megan smiled. Thank you for opening the door. Want to have lunch Monday? Just us? Away from the office? Yes, it's a date. Megan set down her phone, her smile so wide it hurt. She was dating her boss, dating a billionaire, dating someone who made her daughter laugh and made her feel like maybe, possibly, life could be good again. It was terrifying and wonderful and completely insane. And for the first time in a year and a half, Megan let herself believe that maybe she deserved something good. Sunday morning, Emma called while Megan and Lucy were making pancakes. Can Lucy come over? Emma asked without preamble. Please? Dad says I have to ask you first, but please? Megan put her on speaker. What do you think, Lou? Want to go play with Emma? Yes. Can we, Mommy? Sure. When? Now? Emma's voice was hopeful. Dad's making waffles and we have too many. Adrian's voice came through in the background. I said we could share waffles, not that we had too many. Same thing, Emma insisted. Megan laughed. Give us an hour. They showed up at Adrian's house, which Megan was trying very hard to think of as just Adrian's house and not a mansion that made her apartment look like a shoebox, to find him in the kitchen, actually making waffles. He was wearing jeans and an old t-shirt and looked completely different from the CEO who terrified board members. Hey, he said when he saw Megan, and the smile he gave her made her stomach flip. Hey yourself. The girls ran off to play, leaving Adrian and Megan alone in the kitchen. He pulled her close, kissed her properly, and Megan relaxed into it. I missed you, he murmured against her lips. You saw me 12 hours ago. Still missed you. They spent the day being domestic, making waffles, watching the girls play, sitting on the back porch while Emma and Lucy ran through the sprinklers in the yard. It felt easy in a way Megan hadn't expected. Natural. This is nice, she said, watching Lucy shriek with laughter as Emma sprayed her with the hose. Yeah, Adrian agreed. It is. Are we crazy? Moving this fast? Probably. He took her hand. But I've spent 2 years being careful and safe and smart. I'm tired of it. I'd rather be crazy with you. Megan leaned her head on his shoulder. For the record, I'm still terrified. Good. Me too. If we weren't scared, we wouldn't be paying attention. That evening, driving home with a sleepy Lucy in the back seat, Megan's phone rang. An unknown number. Hello? Is this Megan Harper? A woman's voice, professional. Yes? This is Sandra Pierce from Charleston Family Services. I'm calling about your daughter, Lucy. Megan's blood went cold. What about her? We received a report that she's been living in unstable conditions. I need to schedule a home visit to assess the situation. What? Who reported? We're not in unstable conditions. We have an apartment. I have a job. I understand, Ms. Harper. This is just a standard procedure. I'll need to visit your home, interview Lucy, verify your employment and living situation. When? How's Tuesday afternoon? Megan's hand tightened on the steering wheel. Fine. Tuesday. She hung up feeling sick. In the rearview mirror, Lucy was asleep, completely unaware that someone had just tried to take away everything they'd built. Someone had called family services. Someone had reported her, and Megan had a terrible feeling she knew exactly who. Megan didn't sleep that night. She lay in the dark, running through every possibility, every worst-case scenario. Someone had called family services. Someone thought Lucy was in danger, or someone wanted to hurt Megan, or someone just couldn't stand seeing a homeless woman get lucky. By Monday morning, she'd made herself sick with worry. At work, she couldn't focus. Rachel stopped by her desk twice to ask if she was okay, and both times Megan lied and said she was fine. Katie brought her coffee and raised eyebrows, but didn't push. Adrian was in meetings all morning, which was probably for the best because Megan didn't know how to tell him that everything they'd built might be about to collapse. At lunch, she finally texted him, "Can we talk? It's important." His response came back immediately. "My office. Now." Jennifer waved her through without comment. Adrian was standing by the window when Megan walked in, and the second he saw her face, his expression shifted. What happened? Family services called. Someone reported me. They're coming Tuesday to do a home visit. Adrian went very still. What? They said they received a report about Lucy living in unstable conditions. They want to verify my employment, check the apartment, interview her. Megan's voice cracked. Adrian, if they decide I'm not fit, they could take her. They could take my daughter. That's not going to happen. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Adrian crossed to his desk, picked up his phone. I'm calling our legal team. Adrian, I can't afford lawyers. You're not paying for them. The company will handle it. That's exactly the problem. Megan's voice rose. Don't you see? Someone called because they think I'm only stable because of you. Because I'm sleeping with my boss for benefits. Because this whole thing is inappropriate. Because... Stop. Adrian set down the phone. First of all, you're not sleeping with me. We've been on one date. Second, even if you were, that's nobody's business. Third, you have a job that you're good at, an apartment you pay for through payroll deduction, and a daughter who is clearly happy and healthy. No social worker is going to look at that and decide Lucy's in danger. You don't know what they'll decide. You've never been poor, Adrian. You don't know what it's like to have the system looking for reasons to take your kid. One wrong answer, one thing they don't like, and She stopped, pressing her hands to her face. I can't lose her. She's all I have. Adrian pulled her into his arms. Megan resisted for half a second, then crumpled against his chest, trying not to cry. You're not going to lose her, he said quietly. I promise you. We'll figure this out. You can't promise that. Watch me. By Tuesday afternoon, Megan had cleaned her apartment 3 times, rehearsed answers to every possible question, and made Lucy practice saying how much she loved their home. Lucy, who didn't understand what was happening, thought it was a game. Why does the lady need to see my room? She asked for the 5th time. Because she wants to make sure you're safe and happy. But I am safe and happy. I know, baby. Just tell her that, okay? The doorbell rang at exactly 2 o'clock. Sandra Pierce was in her 40s, professional but not unkind, carrying a tablet and a worn leather bag. She shook Megan's hand and smiled at Lucy. Hi there. You must be Lucy. Lucy hid behind Megan's leg. Hi. Can I see your room? Lucy nodded and led Sandra down the hall. Megan followed, her heart hammering. The social worker took notes on everything. The bed, the toys Emma had given Lucy, the books on the shelf. She asked Lucy questions in a gentle voice. Do you like living here? Yes, I have my own room. At the shelter I had to share with Mommy. And your mommy, does she take good care of you? The best care. She makes me breakfast every day and reads me stories and braids my hair. Lucy touched her braids proudly. Do you ever feel scared here? No. Only sometimes at night when it's dark, but Mommy lets me keep my nightlight on. Sandra made more notes. She asked about daycare, about friends, about whether Lucy ever went hungry or felt unsafe. Lucy answered every question with the straightforward honesty of a 5-year-old who genuinely was happy. After Lucy went to play in the living room, Sandra turned to Megan. Can I see your employment verification? Megan handed over the folder she'd prepared. Pay stubs, benefits information, a letter from Rachel confirming her position. Sandra reviewed everything carefully. You've been here 2 months? Yes, ma'am. And before that? I worked at Jerry's Diner, before that various retail and service jobs. After my husband died, Megan's voice steadied. I did what I had to do to keep Lucy fed and safe. We lived in the Palmetto Street shelter for 8 months before I got this job and we moved here. How did you get the job? Here it was, the question Megan had been dreading. She could lie, make up a story about responding to a job posting, but lies had a way of coming back to bite you. I met the CEO, Adrian Cole. He offered me an interview, and I took it. I did the work, I earned the promotion, and I'm paying for this apartment through payroll deduction. It's all documented in those files. Sandra's expression didn't change. Are you in a relationship with Mr. Cole? Megan's stomach dropped. We've been on 1 date, that's all. But you're seeing him socially. Our daughters are friends. They have play dates. Adrian has been, Megan chose her words carefully. He's been kind to Lucy, to both of us. But I'm not dating my boss for job security, if that's what you're asking. That's not what I'm asking. Sandra set down her tablet. Ms. Harper, I'm going to be honest with you. The report we received claimed that you were coercing your daughter into an inappropriate relationship with a wealthy man for financial gain, that Lucy was being used to. She stopped. The language was uglier than I want to repeat. Megan felt like she'd been punched. That's not true. None of that is true. I can see that. Lucy is clearly happy, healthy, and well cared for. Your home is clean and appropriate. You have stable employment and income. There's no evidence of neglect or abuse. Then why? Because someone wanted to hurt you, or scare you, or both. Sandra's expression softened. Unfortunately, false reports happen. People use the system to settle scores or cause problems. It's one of the uglier parts of my job. So what happens now? I file my report stating that there's no cause for concern. The case gets closed. You and Lucy go on with your lives. She paused. But, Ms. Harper, I need to give you some advice. Whatever's going on between you and Adrian Cole, and it's none of my business what that is, be careful. You're in a vulnerable position. People are watching, and not all of them wish you well. After Sandra left, Megan sat on the couch with Lucy curled against her side, trying not to shake. Did I do good, Mommy? You did perfect, baby. Is the lady going to come back? No, she's all done. Good. I didn't like her asking so many questions. Lucy yawned. Can we call Emma? Later. Right now I need you to watch a movie or something while Mommy makes a phone call. Megan set Lucy up with a cartoon, then went to her bedroom and called Adrian. How did it go? He asked immediately. She's closing the case. No issues. Megan's voice was flat. But Adrian, she knew about us. About the date. Someone told her we're seeing each other. Megan. Someone called family services and told them I'm using Lucy to seduce you for money. Those were basically the words. She laughed, a broken sound. I don't even know who would do that. I barely know anyone here. I'm going to find out who made that call. How? I have resources. Let me handle it. No. Megan's voice was firm. This is my life, Adrian. My daughter. I need to handle it. Then let me help you handle it. Megan was quiet for a long moment. The social worker said I'm in a vulnerable position, that people are watching. She's right. This thing between us, it's... Don't, Adrian interrupted. Don't say we should stop seeing each other. Maybe we should, for Lucy's sake, for both our sakes. Do you want to stop? No, but I want to protect my daughter more than I want anything else in the world. Then let me help you protect her, please. Megan closed her eyes. Okay, but Adrian, I need you to understand something. Lucy comes first, always. If this relationship puts her at risk in any way, it won't. I swear to you, it won't. By Wednesday, Adrian had answers. He called Megan into his office looking grim. It was my mother-in-law, he said without preamble. Caroline's mother, Patricia. Megan's stomach sank. What? She's been monitoring my accounts. Saw the housing assistance, the daycare subsidies, put two and two together. She called family services claiming I was being manipulated by a gold digger using her child as bait. His jaw was tight. Her words. I've never even met her. No, but she's seen the pictures. What pictures? Adrian pulled up his phone, showed her his social media. Megan rarely looked at it. She'd only had an account for a few months, but there they were. Photos from the recital, from the play date. Emma and Lucy at the mansion, Adrian and Megan in the background. I didn't know you posted these, Megan said quietly. Emma did. From my account. She's been documenting every play date. He scrolled through more photos. Patricia saw them and decided you were trying to replace Caroline. That's insane. That's grief. Patricia lost her daughter 2 years ago and she's never recovered. She thinks I'm betraying Caroline's memory by moving on. Megan handed back his phone. Maybe she's right. She's not. Adrian, your wife has been gone 2 years. I've been a widow for 18 months. We both know that's not enough time to... To what? To be ready? To deserve happiness? Adrian's voice was sharp. There's no timeline for grief, Megan. You said that yourself. And I loved Caroline. I did, but she's gone. And I have a daughter who needs me present, not locked in the past. And I met someone who makes me want to try again. But your mother-in-law is not part of this conversation. I'll handle Patricia. How? By setting boundaries. By making it clear that my life is my own and Lucy is not in danger. He reached for Megan's hand. She crossed a line calling family services. That won't happen again. Megan wanted to believe him, but she'd learned the hard way that wanting something didn't make it true. That night, Lucy asked if they could see Emma again soon. Maybe this weekend, Megan said. Can we live with them? Megan nearly dropped the dish she was washing. What? Can we live with Emma and Mr. Adrian in the big house? Then we could play every day. Baby, it doesn't work like that. Why not? You like Mr. Adrian, I can tell, and he likes you. And Emma's my best friend, so why can't we all live together? Megan dried her hands and knelt down to Lucy's level. Because grown-up relationships are complicated. Mr. Adrian and I are friends, and we like each other, but that doesn't mean we should all live together. But I want us to be a family. The words hit Megan like a truck. Lou, I miss having a daddy. I know I'm not supposed to say that because it makes you sad, but I do. And Mr. Adrian is nice, and he gives good hugs, and Emma says we can share him. Lucy's eyes filled with tears. Don't you want a family again? Megan pulled her daughter into a tight hug. Of course I do, baby. But we are a family. You and me. We're a family. I know. But wouldn't it be better if there were more of us? Out of the mouths of children. Megan held Lucy and tried to figure out how to explain that life wasn't that simple, that you couldn't just decide to be a family because you wanted to, that loving someone wasn't enough when the world was determined to tear you apart. But maybe Lucy was smarter than all of them. Maybe it really was that simple. Friday night, Adrian showed up at Megan's apartment unannounced. Emma was with him, bouncing with barely contained energy. "We're here to kidnap you," Emma announced. "Excuse me?" Megan looked at Adrian. "We'd like to take you and Lucy to dinner, as a family. All four of us." He met Megan's eyes. "If you're willing." "Adrian, I talked to Patricia, told her that my life is my own and she needs to respect that. I also told her that if she ever contacted family services about you again, I'd be pursuing legal action." He paused. "She wasn't happy, but she understood." "And that's it? Problem solved?" "No. Problems are never solved that easily. But I set a boundary, and I'm going to enforce it, because you and Lucy matter to me. This," he gestured between them, "whatever this is, it matters." Lucy appeared in the hallway. "Emma!" The girls collided in a hug. Emma pulled back, serious for once. "Lucy, guess what? Dad says if your mom says yes, we can have a sleepover at our house, both of you." Lucy looked at Megan with desperate hope. "Can we, Mommy? Please?" Megan looked at Adrian, at Emma, at Lucy's shining face. She thought about Sandra Pierce's warning, about Patricia's accusations, about all the ways this could still go wrong. Then she thought about Lucy's question. "Don't you want a family again?" "Okay," she said. "Yes, let's do it." They went to a casual Italian place where the girls could be loud and messy without judgment. Over pizza and pasta, Megan watched Lucy and Emma finish each other's sentences, watched Adrian tell terrible dad jokes that made both girls groan, watched the easy way they all fit together. After dinner, they drove to Adrian's house. The girls raced upstairs to set up the sleepover, leaving Adrian and Megan in the kitchen. "Thank you for this," Megan said. "For what?" "For fighting for us. For setting boundaries with your mother-in-law. For—" She gestured vaguely. "All of it." Adrian pulled her close. "Megan, I need to tell you something." Her stomach dropped. "That sounds ominous." "It's not. It's just—" He took a breath. "I'm falling in love with you. Not falling. Already fallen. And I know it's fast and we barely know each other, and there are 1,000 reasons this is complicated, but I need you to know. I love you." Megan's eyes filled with tears. "Adrian, you don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know where I stand." "I love you too," Megan whispered. "I'm terrified and I think we're both crazy, but I love you too." Adrian kissed her, deep and slow, and Megan let herself believe that maybe, possibly, this could work. Upstairs, they found the girls in Emma's room, already in pajamas, giggling over some secret. "We're having a meeting," Emma announced, "and you can't come in." "Oh, really?" Adrian said. "Really? It's private. Girl stuff." Megan and Adrian exchanged amused looks and retreated downstairs. They sat on the couch in the living room, Megan tucked against Adrian's side, and for the first time in months, everything felt quiet. "What do you think they're talking about?" Megan asked. "Knowing Emma. Probably planning our wedding." Megan laughed. "That's a little premature." "Is it?" Adrian's voice was serious. Megan pulled back to look at him. "Adrian, I'm not proposing. Not tonight. But Megan, I'm 32 years old. I've been married before. I know what I want, and I want this. You, Lucy, building something together. I don't need to date you for 2 years to figure that out." "You're insane." "Probably. But I'm also serious." He cupped her face. "I'm not asking you to marry me right now. I'm just telling you that when you're ready, if you're ready, I'll be here." Megan's heart was racing. "I don't know if I'm ready." "That's okay. I can wait." They sat in the quiet living room, listening to the girls laugh upstairs, and Megan let herself imagine it. Marriage, family, a life built together instead of alone. It was terrifying. But then again, so was living in a shelter. So was losing everything and finding your way back. She'd survived worse than love. Around 10, they went upstairs to check on the girls and found them both asleep in Emma's bed, tangled together like puppies. Lucy had Mr. Snuggles. Emma had her arm around Lucy. "They look like sisters," Adrian whispered. "Yeah," Megan agreed. "They do." They stood in the doorway watching the girls sleep, and Megan felt something settle in her chest. This was what Lucy had asked for. Family. People who loved her, people who showed up, people who stayed. Maybe it was possible after all. 6 months later, on a Saturday afternoon in spring, Adrian and Megan stood in his back garden surrounded by flowers and white chairs and exactly 14 guests. Emma and Lucy wore matching cream dresses and carried baskets of rose petals they'd been practicing throwing for weeks. It wasn't a big wedding. Neither of them wanted that. Just close friends, Mrs. Chen crying in the front row, and Katie serving as Megan's maid of honor after declaring that anyone who could go from homeless to married to a billionaire in under a year deserved a medal. Patricia hadn't come. Adrian had invited her, but she'd declined with a stiff note about needing more time. Emma had been disappointed, but Adrian had told her that sometimes people needed space to heal, and that was okay. The ceremony was simple. A friend of Adrian's officiated, keeping the words short and meaningful. When it came time for vows, Adrian spoke first. "Megan, 2 years ago, I thought my life was over. I thought the best I could do was survive and make sure Emma survived with me. Then you showed up and reminded me that surviving isn't the same as living. You taught me how to be present, how to let people in, how to build something new without forgetting what came before. I promise to love you, to support you, to never make you feel like you're less than you are. And I promise to always buy Lucy ice cream when she asks." The guests laughed. Lucy beamed. Megan's voice shook when she spoke. "Adrian, 18 months ago I had nothing. No home, no hope, no plan beyond making it through one more day. You saw me at my lowest, and instead of turning away, you offered me a chance. Not charity, a chance. You gave me space to rebuild myself, to remember who I was beyond my grief and fear. You loved my daughter before you loved me, and that's the greatest gift anyone's ever given me. I promise to love you, to challenge you, to make sure you never disappear into work again. And I promise to always remind you that you're more than your bank account." Adrian grinned through tears. After the vows, Adrian knelt in front of Lucy. He'd warned Megan he was going to do this, but she still wasn't prepared for the emotion of it. "Lucy," he said quietly, "I want to make you a promise too. I promise to love you like my own daughter for the rest of my life, to be there for school plays and scraped knees and bad dreams, to teach you how to be strong and kind and brave. And I promise that you'll never feel alone again. You're part of this family now, forever. Okay?" Lucy's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Megan, who nodded through her own tears. Then Lucy whispered the word she'd been practicing for weeks, the word Megan had told her she could use whenever she was ready. "Okay, Dad." Adrian pulled her into a hug, and the guests who didn't cry were lying. Emma joined the hug, then Megan, all 4 of them standing in the garden holding on to each other like they'd never let go. The rest of the ceremony was a blur. Adrian kissed Megan while the girls cheered. They signed papers making everything legal. They cut a cake Lucy and Emma had helped decorate, which was slightly lopsided but perfect. That night, after the guests left and the girls were asleep in Emma's room, now officially their room, Adrian and Megan stood on the back porch looking at the garden. "So," Adrian said, "how does it feel to be Mrs. Cole? Surreal, terrifying, perfect." Megan leaned against him. "How does it feel to have a full house again? Like coming home." They stood in the quiet, listening to the Charleston night sounds. Somewhere across the city, the ice cream cart vendor was probably packing up for the evening. The shelter on Palmetto Street was filling up with people who needed a bed for the night. Life went on, complicated and messy and full of people just trying to survive. But here, in this garden, in this house that was too big but somehow just right, 4 people who'd been broken had figured out how to heal together. "You know what I keep thinking about?" Megan said. "What?" "That night by the ice cream cart. If we'd walked past, if you hadn't stopped, if Lucy hadn't wanted ice cream, but we didn't. And I did. And she did." Adrian turned her to face him. Maybe it was chance. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it was just 2 lonely families colliding at the right time. But whatever it was, I'm grateful for it. Me too. They went inside, checked on the girls one more time, still asleep, still tangled together, then went to their room. Their room. In their house. With their family. And if the road to get there had been unconventional, if people still whispered about the poor waitress who married the billionaire, if Patricia still sent cold Christmas cards and refused to visit, well, that was okay. Because at the end of the day, family wasn't about blood or money or doing things the right way. It was about showing up. It was about seeing someone at their lowest and offering them a hand instead of judgment. It was about two little girls sharing an elephant and deciding they were sisters before the adults figured it out. It was about ice cream on a summer evening and the courage to hope again. And sometimes that was enough. Sometimes it was everything. 3 years later, Megan sat in the same garden watching Emma and Lucy play with their new baby brother, a surprise addition named Michael Adrian Cole, born healthy and loud and already loved beyond measure. Adrian appeared with lemonade and a smile that still made Megan's heart race. "Happy?" he asked, deliriously. "Even though the baby hasn't slept in 3 days and Lucy just informed me she wants a pony for her birthday?" Especially because of that, they sat together watching their family, and Megan thought about the woman she'd been 3 years ago. Desperate, broken, living in a shelter and wondering how she'd make it through another day. That woman would never have believed this was possible. But she'd learned something important in the years since. Life didn't wait for you to be ready. It didn't pause while you healed or give you permission to hope. It just kept moving, kept throwing chances at you, kept offering moments that could change everything if you were brave enough to take them. And sometimes, the bravest thing you could do was accept help, was believe that you deserved good things, was let someone love you even when you felt unlovable. Lucy ran over, her hair wild and her dress grass-stained. "Mommy, can we get ice cream?" Megan looked at Adrian, who was already reaching for his keys. "Sure, baby, let's get ice cream." Because some traditions were worth keeping, some memories were worth honoring, and some simple acts of kindness rippled out in ways you could never predict, touching lives and building families and proving that sometimes the smallest gestures carried the most weight. A little girl had asked for an ice cream cone 3 years ago, and that simple request had changed 4 lives forever. Not because of the ice cream itself, but because someone had been paying attention. Someone had chosen kindness over convenience. Someone had offered a chance instead of judgment. And in the end, that made all the difference.